Hi students, I wanted to show you another example of solving quadratic equations by factoring trinomial with a equals to 1. So in this, and you use this method when your equation is in standard form and is set equal to 0. Well, according to this equation, it is not set equal to 0, so we're going to have to move the 20 back over here to make it equal to 0. So if I do that, remember, when you move something to the opposite side, it's going to be the opposite operation, right? So it's going to be x squared plus x, that stays over there, and then the 20 becomes negative 20 or minus 20, and all of that equal to 0. So now my equation is in standard form. Now I can factor this. Remember, when you factor a trinomial, you get two factors of binomials, okay? And that's equal to 0. Well, the first two things that multiply to give you x squared will always be x and x. And then you have to think, what two numbers multiply to give me 20, however, add to give me a 1x, right? So if you think 20 could be multiplied by a 2 and a 10, but 2 and 10 won't make a 1. 20 could also be multiplied by a 1 and a 20, but 1 and 20, if you add them together, won't give you a 1. So your only option now left is a 5 and a 4. So a 5 times a 4 will give you a 20. However, you need a positive 1 to be remain when you add them together. Well, the only way to add these 5 and a 4 to give you a positive 1 is if the 5 is positive and the 4 is negative. So you're doing 5 minus 4 to give you a 1. So these are my two factors, factor 1, factor 2. So factor 1 is going to be set equal to 0 according to the zero product property. Factor 2 will also be set equal to 0. And you solve these two equations individually so that you get two solutions. For this one, it's simple. X equal to negative 5. Okay, you move the 5 to the other side. And this one, x equal to positive 4. And these are your two solutions for this quadratic equations, also known as the roots, okay? Next example, people always wonder, how do we find the original equation if they give us the x-intercepts? Well, the x-intercepts are the solution. So what you do is you start right here and you work your way backwards, right? So you're going to work this way backwards. You're going to move this negative 6 over here to set this factor equal to 0. So it'll be x plus 6 equal to 0. And you do the same thing for this one. You will move this 2 over here and you set this equal to 0. Well, it will be x minus 2 equal to 0, right? So these will be your two factors, factor 1, factor 2. Well, to find the original equation, you put the two factors together. X plus 6 times x minus 2. And all of that is equal to 0, okay? So I'm working pretty much in the reverse direction compared to the last problem. Well, now that I have the factors, I can actually multiply them. So I'm going to take the first term, multiply with the first term, I get x squared. And then I take the first term, I multiply with the last term, I get negative 2x. So x times negative 2 give me negative 2x. And then I move on, I do the other numbers. I get 6 times x, I get a positive 6x. And then I do it one more time, I get 6 times negative 2, I get negative 12. And all of that is equal to 0. Okay, so now I'm going to look at my two middle terms. I get x and x, so I could actually combine those, right? Because they're like terms. When I combine them, I would get positive 4x. And then, of course, the other two terms stays the same because I cannot combine them. And there's your original equation. Thanks, you guys. I'll see you next time.